Alexa, scope. So the last time I posted a video, I featured a lot of things in my home theater, and including this masking system that allows you to change between Academy Standard and 2.35 to 1 cinemascope aspect ratios. And as you can see, I've got it all hooked up to my Alexa device here with my Amazon devices. And a lot of people were curious to know how this actually works, so I thought I'd make a video that explains that. Okay, when we talk about the system here, there are actually two parts to the masking. The upper part is a completely separate, 100% completely different system than the bottom part. The upper part is all off the shelf. You can buy a motor that fits into a standard size, in this case, 2-inch roller, that fits in the top. And it's behind these curtains here. You can't really, actually you can't really see it very well. It's right here, and this is just a roller with a motor that's installed on the end. I've got the product link and the name of this thing. I'm sorry, I can't remember that off the top of my head. I got the product link and the name of that product in the description, so you can check that out. But it's all off the shelf. All you have to do is install it on the ceiling. Get yourself some black cloth to hang from it. I actually have a piece of wood here that's in this. I had a seamstress shop make me a little hem here to stick the wood in. It's just a 1/4 inch by 2-inch piece of wood that runs the whole length to give it gravity to come down. So that's the easy part. Anytime I've seen somebody do these masking systems, what they've tried to do is take that motor and put a gear or something on it to have it draw and pull up a bottom mask that works the same way off of a roller. Well, the problem with those is every one I've seen has a tendency to sag in the middle. So my bottom system, if you'll pardon the expression, is a completely separate setup. What we have here is just a 1x12 piece of wood that is covered with black cloth, and it is actuated by this linear actuator. Now, linear actuators are used in things like airplane flaps to extend and retract them. This right here is a high-speed actuator, and it's 10 inches in length. That means it will extend from the bottom here to the top by 10 inches. And you can see I've just got it attached here with a bolt on the side of this piece of wood, and the wood is just attached with hinges on top of this cabinet. Now, the trick is, how do you make this actuator work with your voice commands? And that gets into the circuitry and how this all is wired up. And we'll go into my lab to kind of show you how that works. Okay, so we're here at the workbench, and I've got here another linear actuator. I just want to show you how these things work. The way a linear actuator works is it's just a DC motor, and it spins and it turns a screw that will make this shaft extend or retract. This is another 10-inch one, so again it extends 10 inches. This is a cheaper one than the one in the theater. The one is quieter, and the theater is quieter, and it's also faster. If you give it the full juice, it'll only take 1 second to extend. I've only got that one in the theater running on 5 volts, but these are supposed to run on 12 volts. So if I take a 12 volt power supply here, just plug this in, you can see if I take the negative to positive and positive to negative terminals on this and apply it to this actuator, that'll make it extend. You see, and as long as I'm applying juice, it will extend until it reaches the end, and then it will stop. And if I reverse the polarity, it will retract. You see. So the key is, how do you make it extend and retract electronically? And I'll show you that next. What I've got here in this box is a dual relay. This is a board you can buy for about, I think it's something like $6 or $7. That includes 2 relays. And I'm going to put the circuitry up on the screen here to show you how this works. But basically, the way this board works is it has 2 pins that you can control with. You can see I'm using 4 of the pins here, actually 5. There's 2 of those are grounds. This one is for power, but these 2 in the middle, the white one and the blue one, they're to, whenever you actuate those by bringing either one of those to a low current, it will turn these relays onto one circuit or the other. And I've got it wired up to where one of them makes the polarity go one way, and the other makes the polarity go the other way. And this 12-volt power supply here powers the output of this relay, which is connected here to eventually the actuator. The way that the relay works is through this chip right here. And this is called a ESP8266. You can get these for like $4. And what they are is they're a Wi-Fi enabled microcontroller chip. If anybody has ever used an Arduino, you will be familiar with the code that goes in these things. It actually uses C code, old-fashioned C code, and it's uploaded through this USB port in it. And as far as this chip goes, I'm only using 2 real outputs of it, and these are data chips, data outputs. And one of them will correspond with one of these relay circuits, and the other will correspond with the other, the 2 pins that are on this relay board. So you can see I've got one of those chips here connected to the relay circuit here, and it's powered by 5 volts here. And you can see it's on. I've already put the code on it. We'll show you the code in a minute. The code is very simple to upload and put in there. And this one I've actually set up for a cat feeder. I've got some of you may know, a sort of a neighborhood cat, a tortoise-shelled cat that comes around. And I don't want to leave her food out all night and feed it to the possums or whatever that show up on my back porch. So I'm going to hook up this actuator so that it extends and retracts along a particular Alexa-enabled schedule, so it opens up in the morning and closes up at night. And right now, I've surfaced via the code. I've surfaced this 8266 controller to Alexa so that it knows it by name. It knows it by cat feeder open, and it knows it by cat feeder close. Those are 2 separate commands, and they each correspond with turning on or off one of those circuits. So now we're all hooked up. My device in here in my workbench is called Amazon. So let's go ahead and say Amazon cat feeder open on. It took Amazon a while to figure out what that means. Sometimes it does take the device a little while. So you can see this thing is extending, right? And then I can say, when it's done, Amazon cat feeder close on. And it retracts. Now this actuator is a lot cheaper than the one in the theater, so it makes a lot more noise and runs a lot slower. But you can see this is the same circuit in both cases. And I've got it in a nice little box here that I can cover up and stash away somewhere. About really less than $20 worth of parts to make this happen. Okay, we're going to try to look at the code here. I'm opening up the Arduino IDE. You can download this for free. I'll include a link in the description. And I've got some code here called actuator control. And this will also be downloadable on the page. I'll give you the link to download this. Okay, when I open this up, the first thing you'll see here is this credentials.h file. And in that file is the Wi-Fi name of your network, your Wi-Fi network, and your password. So if you'll just include those, that will allow this controller code to automatically sign on to your Wi-Fi. And I've got some pound defines here. Sorry if you don't understand C, but this is really not hard to really fathom, really, once you get the hang of it. Pin 4 is here, and I've got pin 2 defined here. I don't really use the other pins. 2 and 4 are the only output pins from this controller that we're going to be using. And if you'll see, it starts off by setting the Wi-Fi mode, and it begins by signing in. And while it's not connected here, it keeps trying to do the connection. Anyway, that's what this code is here. You really don't have to mess with this part. You just leave that alone. But I set the most important things here is you have to set the pin modes to be output. Again, I'm only using 4 and 2. You can do whatever you want to with the other ones. It doesn't really matter. And I go ahead and set pin 4 to a low and pin 2 to a low. And here's the Wi-Fi setup. So it basically does the logging on. This thing used to be called FOMO ESP. So if you see that in the code here, you'll know that I just kind of ripped it off and used it for my own devices. This code you don't have to change. You can see the comments here where they talk about turning yellow and lamps on and off and things like that. They're trying to explain what happens. But here's what I've done is I've added the device. So I've now added a device called ID retract and ID extend. Now those devices correspond with the pound defines I have created to define them up here. Retract and extend are called lower mask retract and lower mask extend. So the code just goes through here and waits for those commands, and that's what's happening in this method right here. So if it sees retract, that's what this says. If it compares that string and sees retract, it will write out a low to pin 2 and write out a high to pin 4. Writing out a low to pin 2 is telling the controller to send out a low through that port. And when it does that, it brings it to ground, and it also brings to ground that corresponding pin in the relay circuit. And that's what makes the relay send the juice in the right polarity. So it does that here. I've set pin 4 to high. So actually, I believe I have this mixed up. But I'll show the wiring. I'll show the wiring here in a diagram. But if you do mix it up, all you have to do is reverse these, and it'll go the way you want. And that's the only thing you have to do in the code. The rest of this is all just sort of stock. And you can see the whole piece of code is really nothing. A couple of libraries you have to include, but if you download the Arduino IDE, you'll have all the libraries you need. So the only thing you have to do now is go into your Alexa app, and what you're going to do is you're going to configure devices. So if I go to my devices tab here and I look at all devices, you can see I've already set up a device called lower mask extend and another one called lower mask retract. So there's extend and there's retract. If I look at retract, you can see the power is off now. If I turn this on, it will retract it, so it will bring it back from CinemaScope to Academy Standard. Similarly, when you turn on the lower mask extend switch, it will go from Academy Standard to Scope. Now, all you have to do after that is really just set up a routine that controls both the upper and the lower mask. So if you can see my routines here, I have this one called Scope, and it does these two actions. It turns the power on the top mask, and it also has the lower mask extend on for the bottom mask. Now this top mask routine was something that I set up when I set up the top mask system. It really it doesn't have to do as much as the lower one does, and so you can check the documentation on that top mask system on how to make that happen. But basically, Scope combines those two actions into one routine. And then I have another one called Academy Standard, which does the reverse. It powers on the lower mask retract, and it powers off the top mask. This top mask system also has a way with both the remote and with the Alexa app to set the upper and lower limits of that shade that comes up and down. and that's fairly easy to do. Again, all of the stuff that has to do with the upper mask, I'm including a link to a guy's video who explains that whole system. It goes into great detail. And I'm also including a link on how to find the parts and everything to do what I did on this. Okay, so there you have it. I hope I haven't totally confused everybody. I think the thing is, if you have a certain degree of experience of hooking up any kind of electronic circuits, you're not going to have a problem with this. Otherwise, you're going to kind of be in the dark. But really, it's not that hard. If you have any questions, be sure to put them in the comments or something. I'll try to answer them as best I can. But I will tell you that the 2 videos that I'm including, 3 videos actually, I have 3 videos I'm including links to. The first is to how to install this top mask system. That's really easy. The second is how to get that controller to work to turn off and on a relay. And the third is how to make the relay circuit work. If you just look at those 3 videos, you'll see everything you need to know to make this happen. I've just tried to kind of weed out all of that stuff and give you the bare essentials about how it works. Hope you have a good time trying this. I hope somebody out there does this, because I went through a lot of different videos to try to find out how exactly I can make this work before I stumbled on something that was pretty simple, actually, compared to a lot of the other ones. And it works great. So thanks for watching.